For me, the one change that tells us a lot about the thought process that went into these amendments is a part of the 2020 draft called, it's chapter 5. It was there. Now chapter 5 has been deleted totally.
A whole chapter has been removed.
A whole chapter has been removed.
Replaced with something, or it was just totally removed?
It has just been totally removed. And the title of chapter 5 is Leadership and Integrity.
Chapter 5 that has been removed was dealing with leadership and integrity.
Yes. And I will take some time to, it's very beautifully drafted. The language, in the 2020 draft report, they explained how after the public consultations, Gambians felt that poor governance was rampant, and it was one of the reasons why we're in the state we are today. And that for us to move forward as a country and to see a Gambia we all want, there needs to be public accountability, transparency, reduction in corruption, and certain standards of conduct that public officials should follow.
Yeah.
And people dealing with government should also follow. And it had and everything I will tell you now has been deleted.
So you mean all the issues dealt with, to provide good leadership, the whole chapter has been removed?
Yes. And that is why I'll throw it back to the government. I should not have been the first person to, if I am, to come on the TV and start talking about it. They should have come out, at least the Ministry of Justice should come out, or the Ministry of Information, to explain to people the reasoning behind it, so that suspicion can be reduced, controversy can be reduced, and we can understand in good faith why the government thinks.
That was a press release, a short press, a task statement that suggests that this document, how did they word it? It is inconsistent with the Gambia as a democratic state, so and so. It was a short statement that expressed that it came with. That, for all intents and purposes, is not enough, especially when a whole chapter dealing with how our leaders should conduct themselves is deleted. There should be a bigger explanation, a more clear explanation.
Yes, and so that it can be very clear to you. This is what the 2020 draft said. I'm just going to read. This was there before, now it's removed.
Yes.
Section 24(1). Cognizant of the fact that all sovereign authority emanates from the people, any authority, duty, or responsibility conferred or assigned to a public officer, whether under this constitution or on an act of the National Assembly, is. So it's basically saying power is in the people. This constitution recognizes that any responsibility given to a public officer comes from the people. Therefore, that authority should be considered a privilege and public trust, and must be exercised in a manner that is consistent with the principles of the Constitution, demonstrates respect for the people and the rule of law, brings honor to the nation and dignity to the office, and promotes confidence and respect and integrity of the office vested in the public officer. Why is that removed?
Well, if these things are so lofty that if you remove this, what do you replace it with? Impunity?
Yes. So, for example, there was a section in the same leadership and integrity. There is a section that deals with the conduct of office of public officers. A public officer shall behave, whether in private or public life, or in association with any person, in a manner that avoids conflict of interest, in a manner that compromises their public duty or personal interest, or brings their office into disrepute. They have removed that.
So anything that can bring a minister or some senior official in conflict of interest, they've removed that.
Yes.
So a minister who is, for example, minister for tourism can now buy a share or own a hotel or a lodge somewhere, or a minister of health can now own private pharmacies and stuff like that, because the law that protects the conflict interest is gone.
Yes, so those are good examples. Basically, the 2020 Constitution had this section to prevent conflicts of interest, but that has been removed. There was a section on financial probity of public officers, meaning you have to be transparent in your finances. There was a section that says a gift to a public officer or a public official, a gift or donation shall be delivered to the state, through the Anti-Corruption Commission. So there was an obligation that if you receive a gift, you have to give it to the Anti-Corruption Commission, who will deliver it to the government to prevent people giving gifts and donations and bribes. Essentially,
discourage bribery and other things.
They have removed that.
So if that had stayed, for example, nobody can turn up now with 57 pickups and said, I'm donating it to the president.
Exactly.
You have to take it to the Anti-Corruption.
Exactly.
But they've removed that now. So anybody can come with anything and say, Mr. President, I have given this to you.
Exactly.
And he wouldn't be constrained by any law. He could just pick it, take it. More or less.
Exactly. Then there's also the section on restrictions on public officers, that a full-time public officer shall not engage in other gainful employment unless they are allowed by an act of the National Assembly or express agreement of government. That has been removed.
So if you are in a public office or an office that has unique requirements, you should not be engaged in anything private.
Exactly.
They'll remove that law now.
Yes.
So anybody can engage in anything now. You will not be constrained by any law.
Well, that is what is sought. That is what they want to do in the new constitution.
That's what the new draft is seeking to do.
Yes. But in the 2020 draft, you can understand why these things were there.
Yeah, because people have seen it, how conflict of interest and stuff like that.
Exactly.
So they removed the whole chapter that would have guided public officials how to conduct themselves in terms of avoiding bribes, in terms of conflict of interest, and generally good conduct.
Even Section 28, for people who are dealing with public officials or any organ of state, the 2020 draft imposed a duty